Yeah, good evening, Nikhila. Good evening, Dipali. Can you hear me? So, how are you? I'm also good. How are the studies going on? नॉर्मल पेस बढ़ाइए भैया, पेस बढ़ाइए थोड़ी सी. क्या है ना कि अभी जो हो जाएगी पढ़ाई ज्यादा अच्छे से वो हो जाएगी. बाद में इतना स्ट्रेस हो जाता है कि ढंग से पढ़ाई हो नहीं पाती. इसलिए अभी थोड़ी सी पेस ज्यादा रखने की जरूरत है हमें, है ना. Take a second. I'll just be uploading the PPT. Okay, in the meanwhile, in case anybody has got any doubts, yeah, any doubts, Dipali, Nikhila, any questions? आपने कहाँ तक पढ़ लिया है on working capital management or any other topic? No questions. Okay. Nikhila, I want you to appear for exam preparatory this weekend. I hope you're preparing well for it. Good. So in this week exam preparatory, I'll be taking up working capital management, and in that we'll be taking up inventory management and debtors management. Right? क्या हो रहा है आज? Okay. So in the last class I was discussing with you about inventory management, and in inventory management we discussed about four models in independent demand situations where we wanted to understand what how much should I place as an order. I hope you remember that. We had discussed about the basic economic order quantity model. Thereafter we had discussed about the production order quantity model. Then we had discussed about the back order quantity model, the just-in-time inventory, definitely yes. And then, the last model was still pending, which was the quantity discount model. So today I'll be starting with that only, the quantity discount model. हमने back order inventory model discuss किया था, हमने production order quantity model discuss किया था, right? Okay. So today we are going to start with quantity discount model. Can we start now? This is again a very interesting model. What happens is that many a times, when you go to the markets, you find that if you buy a particular thing in quantity, you're getting a discount. And these kinds of schemes are very much prevalent even in the retail market as well as they're prevalent in the wholesale market. So, one item is free on buying on the purchase of another item or something like that. So generally we get this kind of a quantity discount which is at a reduced price when we buy the product in larger quantities. Now let us assume that there is a situation in front of us where if you buy between 0 to 999 as a quantity units, if you buy between 0 to 999 units, you are not getting any discount and the price of the product is $5. But if you're buying between 1000 to 2000, 5000 to 1999, you are getting a 4% discount and therefore the price would be $4.80. And if you buy more than more than 2000 units, in that situation you're getting 5% discount. that is, and the price would be $4.75. Okay. So now in this situation, supposing you want to understand as to which particular deal would you like to take. Now generally as a layman, what we would do as because the discount is highest in the third quantity, so we might be tempted to order 2000 or more units, isn't it? Because we're getting a maximum discount over there. But this might not be the one which will minimize your total cost. Good evening, Amrita. Welcome to the class. We're discussing about the quantity discount model, where the model talks about if I order things in bulk, I'm offered a particular discount. Now I just want to understand that whether buying the highest quantity would give me the best benefit or not, will rather minimize my total cost or not. See, because what will happen if my quantity goes up, many a times my holding cost increases. So I have to find out a trade-off between the reduced product price, that is a discount, and the increased holding cost. So how do I do this kind of a calculation? I have already discussed with you in the last class that there are two kinds of costs over here, the holding cost and the ordering cost. And we discussed that the ordering cost can be calculated by multiplying total demand multiplied by ordering cost divided by the economic order quantity. And the holding cost can be calculated by dividing the economic order quantity with 2 and multiplying it with the holding cost per unit. Along with that, because now we're talking about a quantity discount model, so in this situation we also need to find out the product price for a particular level of an order. Because if we are assuming that the product price is going to remain same in all situations, then we might not be considering this. But now that we are considering that the product price will reduce if I order for a higher quantity, so I need to find out the differential between the product price as well. So now, P is the price per unit. Now, in this particular case, we will assume that the holding cost is a percentage of price. Holding cost is a percentage of price per unit. Okay. So we will say that holding cost is equals to I is the percentage and P is the price. So I percent of price. So that can be denoted by I multiplied by P. Okay. So we are just here assuming that holding cost is a percentage of the price of the particular product. So what we have to do, how do we work on this quantity discount model? What we will do for each alternative, for each of the discount alternative, let us find out the economic order quantity. Let me find out the economic order quantity for a price at $5. Let me find out the economic order quantity at a price of 4.8 and then 4.6 I think was the price. So let us try to find out that. So we haven't been given in these kinds of questions. Holding cost is not given to you directly, but it is given to you as a percentage of price. Why? Because generally when the items are expensive, the holding cost is higher. So it is a percentage of the price of the particular item. So since the price of the item is a factor of its annual holding cost, we can no longer assume that the holding cost is constant when the price changes, and therefore we have to look at holding cost as a percentage of price. Now what we will do thereafter, we will find out that quantity which is like supposing it happens that when I look for an economic order quantity in different product price ranges, the quantity that I am getting is not available in the discount scheme. So in that situation I will have to increase the quantity to the minimum level to find out the discount range. This will become more clearer as I discuss the example with you. And then we have to find out the total cost in the three alternatives and choose that alternative which gives me the lowest possible cost. Now let us go back to the example which we were discussing, that if I order between 0 to 999 units, my product price is $5 and my discount is 0%. But if I order between 1000 to 1999 units, in that situation I'm getting a 4% discount, and if I order more than 2000 units I'm getting a 5% discount. Let us assume that the ordering cost per order is $49. Let us assume that the ordering cost per order is $49 and annual demand is 5000 units. And inventory holding cost or the carrying cost is 20% of the product price. carrying cost is 20% of the product price. My question is that how much should I order so that my inventory cost is minimized? So what do? We were told that the first step is that we should find out the economic order quantity for each of the discount range. Now we will find out the economic order quantity for $5, we will find it for $4.8 and for $4.75. Okay? Because my holding cost is a percentage, is 20% of the product price. So in that situation, my denominator is going to change in all the three situations, and therefore my economic order quantity is going to change from 700 units in the first case to 714 units and to 718 units in the third case. But my problem is that if I take the price of $4.8, then I have to minimum order how much? What is the minimum size of the order? If my price is 4.8, how much do I have to order as per the given situation to me? Do you remember? कितना order करना पड़ेगा आपको? No, 714 units अगर आप order करोगे, we have to check the carrying cost, right? That we are doing. That we are doing. You know, that's what it is 20% of the product price. 714 यूनिट्स अगर आप ऑर्डर करते हो तो 4.8 में मिलता नहीं है ना. 4.8 लेने के लिए, गुड इवनिंग स्नेहा, 4.8 का रेट लेने के लिए आपको मिनिमम 1000 यूनिट्स ऑर्डर करने पड़ेंगे. यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट? मिनिमम 1000 यूनिट्स अगर आप ऑर्डर करोगे तभी तो आपको 4.8 का प्राइस मिलेगा, और अगर आप मिनिमम 2000 यूनिट्स ऑर्डर करोगे तो आपको 4.75 का प्राइस मिलेगा. राइट? सो अब क्या करना पड़ेगा हमें कि Q2 को हमें 1000 लेना पड़ेगा और Q3 को हमें 2000 लेना पड़ेगा. Right? Because we will have to increase the economic order quantity to that level where at least we can get that 4.8 and 4.75 price. Okay? So हमने क्या किया कि Q1 को we have kept it at 700 units. Q2 को we have increased from 714 units to 1000 units. And Q3, which is my third economic order quantity in the price range of $4.5, that I have increased to 2000 units. ठीक है? क्योंकि अदरवाइज मुझे प्राइस ही नहीं मिलेगा. 4.75 सॉरी. सो यहाँ पर अब हमने तीनों ऑल्टरनेटिव्स ले लिए. ऑल्टरनेटिव नंबर 1, 2 and 3. The unit price is $5, $4.8 and $4.75. I have to find out the quantity which I should order. So in the first case, we have found out the economic order quantity to be 700 units. So I will order 700 units in each of the orders. In the second case, to get $4.8 unit price, I will have to order 1000 units minimum. So I've taken that. In the third case, I have to take the price of $4.75. So for that, minimum order is 2000 units. So I've taken that. Now, what will be my product cost? If I order, because my requirement is 5000 units, so I multiply 5000 with $5, so my annual product cost would be $25,000 in the first case. In the second case, 5000 multiplied by 4.8, so my annual product cost would be $24,000. And in the third case, I will multiply 5000 with $4.75 because that is the price that I'm going to get. So my total cost would be $23,750. Along with the product cost, I have got the ordering cost as well. Now, how many orders do I have to place over here? 5000 divided by 700, right? 5000 divided by 700 multiplied by 49, because $49 is my ordering cost. So that gives me 350 rupees as the annual ordering cost. Okay. In the second case, I have to place 5 orders, right? Because 1000 units I'm getting in one order and 5000 units is my annual requirements. So I will place 5 orders multiplied by $4.8. So that gives me $245 as the ordering cost. And in the third case, I have to place 2.5 orders because I will order 2000 units at a time. So 2.5 orders multiplied by 49 is equals to 122.5. So this is my annual ordering cost in 3 situations. Coming to the annual holding cost, this is 20% of the product price multiplied by the average quantity. Now my average quantity in the first case is going to be 350. In the second case it will be 500, and in the third case it is going to be 1000. 1500 or 350 multiplied by the product price and multiplied by 20% of that. So 5 multiplied by 20% is rupees 1 per unit, and my average inventory in the first case is 350, so my annual holding cost is coming as 350. In the second case it is 480, and in the third case it is 950. So as the quantity is increasing, you can see, as the economic order quantity is increasing, you can see that the holding cost is increasing and the ordering cost is decreasing. Now what I will do, I will add all the three costs. So in the first situation, my cost is coming as $25,700. In the second case, it is coming as $24,725. And in the third case, it is coming as $24,822. Now, because in the second situation, my cost is minimum. Even though the discount is not maximum in the second situation, but because my cost is minimum, I would like to choose this second situation rather than third situation. You're able to follow? Yeah? Right? So on the similar lines, there was a question in one of the examinations. Okay, now we can take this further also. Now, in case we have got some power to negotiate, right? As of now, we are able to see that if we order 1000 units, we can minimize the total cost. Now, but in case, right now the product price is coming to you in the third alternative as $4.75, and your total cost is more, right? So you can negotiate with your supplier and you can tell him that if I am able to get it at $4.65, in that situation, I may place an order of 2000 units. You're getting my point? So you know that where you are getting the minimum cost. At $4.75, your cost is not getting minimized. But if this price is lower to $4.65, then this discount alternative might be the optimum solution. So this gives you a power to negotiate with your vendors as well. A reason to negotiate rather. So on similar lines, as I was saying, that we had a question in one of the examinations, I think last to last examination. It says a financial literacy house buys 72,000 reams of a special paper type per annum at a cost of rupees 90 per ream. So this is, they're buying reams at the rate of 90 rupees per ream, and they're buying 72,000 reams. Ordering cost per order is 500 rupees and the carrying cost is 5% per year of the inventory cost. 5% per year of the inventory cost. Normal lead time is 20 days and safety stock is nil. Okay. Assume 300 working days in an year. You are required to calculate the economic order quantity. That you can do. You can just give me the economic order quantity. It's a simple question that I've asked you. Work out on the economic order quantity here. I'm also doing simultaneously. Let us see who does it faster. Yeah, let me see the solution. Let me see your answer. It is 4,000. She's saying 4,000 units should be the economic order quantity. I think you should be very close. Why should it be wrong? Yeah, it is 4,000 rims. 2 multiplied by 72,000 multiplied by 500 divided by 5% of rupees 90. So it is 4,000 rims. Very well done, Nikhila. Now, if you have to find out the reorder inventory level, can you do that? Normal lead time is 20 days. So you can find out the reorder inventory level. First find out the daily requirement and then find out the reorder level. There are 300 working days in a year. Remember that. Faster. Arey, Nikhila, it's very simple. There is no formula here. Just put your logical bent of mind. आपको ये बताया गया है कि एक साल में 300 दिन है और आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट है 72,000 रिम्स की, तो एक दिन की रिक्वायरमेंट कितनी होगी? हाँ जी, एक दिन की 240 होगी. अब 20 दिन लगते हैं माल को आने में, तो 20 दिन का स्टॉक अपने पास होगा तब तो ऑर्डर प्लेस करोगे. सो 240 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 20, 20 दिन का माल रख के चलोगे ना. तो देयर इज नो फॉर्मूला एज सच, इसमें तो सिर्फ लॉजिक लगाना है. ठीक है. सो दैट मेक्स इट 4800 यूनिट्स. सो जब आपके पास 4800 यूनिट्स होंगी तब आप 4000 यूनिट्स के लिए ऑर्डर प्लेस कर दोगे, बिकॉज दैट इज योर इकोनॉमिक ऑर्डर क्वांटिटी. फाइन विद अस? ठीक है. ओके. हाउ अबाउट अदर्स? दे आर नॉट पार्टिसिपेटिंग. Now we are going to the third part of the question, which you've learned a few minutes ago. It says that if 1% quantity discount is offered by the supplier for purchases in lots of 18,000 rims or more, should the buyer accept the proposal? You've been told कि अगर आप 18,000 units से ज़्यादा purchase करते हो, तो in that situation your price would be 1% lower. Okay? So would you be accepting this offer? That is the question. Okay, so same ways as we have done in the previous question, we would be solving it. At present, my economic order quantity is 4,000 rims, and after in 1% quantity discount offer, my size of the order would become 18,000 rims because I'm getting 1% discount there. Number of orders which I have to place right now are 18 orders, right? And in this situation, when we have 18,000 rims, because 72,000 is my annual requirement, I will have to place order just 4 times in a year. What is my average inventory? In the first case, it is 2,000 rims. In the second case, it is 9,000 rims because it is Q divided by 2. Now, let me find out the total cost to compare which particular option is better. Ordering cost is 5,000 per order. If I have to place 18 orders, in that situation, in the economic order quantity situation, my ordering cost would become 9,000 rupees because 500 multiplied by 18 is equals to 9,000. In the 1% discount offer, I will have to place only 4 orders and 500 rupees per order. That makes it 2,000 rupees. Then we come to the holding cost. Now, inventory carrying cost has been given to me as what? 5% of the price, right? It was given to me as 5% of the price. Yeah. So in the second situation, the price will be discounted by 1%. Okay. So in the first situation, my holding cost would be 2,000 multiplied by 4.5. 2,000 because this is my economic order, this is my average inventory, multiplied by 5% of 90, that is 4.5. So that makes it 2,000 multiplied by 4.5 is equals to 9,000. Fine. But in the second case, because I'm getting 1% discount, so after this, my average inventory is 9,000 rims, but my holding cost would become 4.455 because I'm getting a 1% discount, right? So I'm getting a discount of 0.045. Fine with us? Okay. So this makes it 40,095 rupees. This makes my holding cost to be 40,095 rupees. Now I have to find out the price of the product. I have to order 72,000 rims In the EOQ situation, I'm getting a price of 90 rupees. So the cost of the price of the product is 64,80,000. But when I'm going for the discount offer, I'm getting the price of I'm getting a 1% discount. So my per unit per rim cost is 89.1. So 72,000 multiplied by 89.1 is equal to 64,15,200. I add the ordering cost, the holding cost and the purchase cost. In the first situation, it becomes 64,98,000. In the second situation, it becomes 64,57,295. Now, because by accepting the discount offer, I have been able to reduce my total cost from 64,98 to 64,57. I think we should accept the offer. Right? We should accept the offer. Right? So this is a very simple concept, yeah, as it is lower. This is a simple concept, but you should be very clear about the EOQ model if you want to do the production order, if you want to do the quantity discount model. Right? So once the EOQ is clear, then how this is 90 rupees? Because it is given to you in the question, Amrita. See, the question says that per annum at a cost of rupees 90 per rim. And the carrying cost is 5% per year of the inventory cost. Ma'am, why that happens at discount quantity, the holding cost is maximum. See, the thing is that if you have to place a bulk order, तो उस bulk order को hold करने के लिए holding cost बढ़ जाएगी ना. भाई अगर एक बार को आपने सामान खरीदा 2000 यूनिट्स, तो उसके लिए आपको एक छोटी सी जगह चाहिए, एक टेबल पे आ गए 2000 रिम्स. तो लेकिन अगर आपने खरीद लिया 18,000, अगर आपने खरीदे 4000 रिम्स तो 4000 रिम्स एक रूम के कॉर्नर में आ जाएंगे. बट अगर आप खरीदोगे 18,000 रिम्स, तो आपको उसके लिए स्पेस ज्यादा चाहिए, तो रेंट बढ़ जाएगा, प्लस उतना पैसा आपका ब्लॉक हो जाएगा, तो उसकी अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट है उस पैसे की. उसके अलावा एक आदमी चाहिए जो कि चौकीदारी करेगा उसकी. सो दैट वेज द होल्डिंग कॉस्ट इंक्रीजेस. ओके, 2000 is the average inventory. See, as I told you in the last class as well, we take the minimum level to be 0. We take the minimum level to be the 0. Okay? And the EOQ is at 4000. So my average inventory would be 4000 divided by 2. That is equal to 2000. ठीक है, because the EOQ is at 4000, so average inventory is EOQ divided by 2 is equals to 2000. Ganesh, is it clear? Okay, so the quantity discount model is clear. So after this we finish off with inventory models. Now today I have to start with you with the debtors management. Okay, any questions on inventory management, anybody? No questions? Whether we have to always calculate in the same way, I think this is the most simplest of all ways, isn't it? Average inventory नहीं, average inventory में अगर आपको minimum level दिया गया है, then it is minimum level plus EOQ divided by 2. When we assume that the minimum level is 0, then it is only EOQ divided by 2. But अगर आपको minimum level दिया गया है, then it is minimum level plus EOQ divided by 2. ठीक है? Now we are coming to the probabilistic models. Why we are talking about probabilistic models? Because in the last example, we assume that the safety stock is 0. और अभी भी हमने इसीलिए ये कहा कि EOQ is equals to average inventory is equals to EOQ divided by 2, because there is no safety stock. But in general situations that does not happen, because life is not very, very, very planned. So there are situations where demand may fluctuate, right? So we need to keep some level of safety stock, because stock out is a situation which may become very, very unprofitable for business. So let us find out that how do we calculate the safety stock. Okay, so so far we were assuming that the demand is constant and uniform, but that does not, as I said, that does not happen. So let us try to find out the safety stock using probability distribution, because we do not want to go for a situation of a stock out or a shortage. Now, one method of reducing the stock out is that we hold an extra stock, which is called the safety stock. We know what is a reorder point. Reorder point is daily demand multiplied by the lead time, which I was just discussing with Nikhila a few minutes ago, right? Now, in this reorder point, what we want to do, we want to put a safety stock, because we do not want to be in a situation of a stock out. So then in that reorder point, we simply add the safety stock. But how do we calculate how much it should be the safety stock? See, if supposing you want to say that I want to be at least 95% confident that I'm not going to have a situation of stock out. At 99% or 95% confidence level, I want to make sure that I am not in a stock out kind of a situation. Now, how can you be sure at 99% or 95% confidence level? For that, let me first explain to you the probability distribution. I do not remember if I've done it with you earlier. See what happens. Sorry. This is your normal ग्राफ, मतलब एक मान लीजिए ग्राफ पेपर है. इसके ऊपर आपने ये लिखना है कि आपका मिनिमम लेवल, आपका जो है इन्वेंट्री की जो डिमांड है या जो लेवल है वो कितना रहता है और कितने दिन तक रहता है. ओके, सो आपने कहा कि दिस इज माय इन्वेंट्री लेवल ओवर हियर, 10, 15, 20, whatever, ये आपके लेवल्स आ रहे हैं. आप ये कह रहे हो कि मेरा जो लेवल है वो, यहाँ पर मैं अगर नंबर ऑफ डेज ले लूं, राइट, सो वी कैन मेक अ प्रोबेबिलिटी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की इन जनरल आपकी जो डिमांड है, जो EOQ लेवल है, जो मैक्सिमम लेवल है, वो यहाँ है, यहाँ पर रहती, यहाँ तक आपका रहता है. लेकिन there are situations when the levels go down, okay, or the demand is high, या तो कभी ज्यादा होगी या कम होगी. So what we should do, एक सेकेंड, हम क्या करते हैं in any probability distribution, this is called a bell shaped curve. ये एक bell shaped curve होता है और इसका जो highest point होता है that is considered as the mean. This is the average. मैं ये कहना चाह रही हूं कि हमने ये कहा कि साल में 15 दिन ऐसे होते हैं जबकि हमारी डिमांड जो है वो इतनी होती है. साल में 20 दिन ऐसे होते हैं जब हमारी डिमांड इतनी होती है. ऐसा करके हम इसको डिवाइड कर सकते हैं, ठीक है. और कभी कभी हमारे को बिल्कुल डिमांड नहीं होती है, वी गो इनटू द नेगेटिव लेवल एज वेल. नाउ व्हाट आर द चांसेस कि बहुत कम दिन ऐसे होते होंगे साल में जबकि आपकी बहुत कम डिमांड होती है या फिर आपकी बहुत ज्यादा डिमांड होती है, ठीक है. सो वी वांट टू बी कॉन्फिडेंट एट 95% कॉन्फिडेंस लेवल कि हमारी जो डिमांड है वो मीट हो. कोई ऐसा सिचुएशन ना हो जबकि हमें स्टॉक आउट की सिचुएशन आ जाए. इन 95% सिचुएशंस वी वांट टू बी हैविंग द स्टॉक विद अस, ठीक है. सो इसके लिए हमें किस चीज की जरूरत है? वी नीड टू हैव द वैल्यूज फॉर द मीन डिमांड एंड द स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन, कि ऑन एन एवरेज आपको डेली कितनी रिक्वायरमेंट रहती है और इसके अंदर कितना फ्लक्चुएशन हो सकता है. सो ऑन एन एवरेज अगर आपकी ये डिमांड है तो इसमें डेली कितना फ्लक्चुएशन हो सकता है, दैट इज व्हाट वी हैव टू फाइंड आउट. एंड द डेली फ्लक्चुएशन कैन बी मेजर्ड बाय यूजिंग द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन. For example, there is a company called SSE company. It carries an inventory item that has a normally distributed demand. On an average, the demand is 350 units. On an average, ये company को 350 units की जरूरत रहती है with a standard deviation of 10 units. That it can be 360 units or it can be 340 units. If the demand is 340 units, we have no problem. But if the demand is 360 units, and if we just keep 350 units with us, then we are going to be in a situation of a stock out for 10 units, right? Are you able to follow? Right? So, how do we be 95% sure that we should not have a situation of stock out? What we do, we will create this bell-shaped curve, and here we are saying that these are the number of units that we need to keep. This is 350 units. Now we can go to 360 units, the demand can go to 360 units, and the demand can go to 340 units. How do I find out the safety stock? I will divide this curve into 3 parts. On the positive side and 3 parts on the negative side. This you might have done in your basic statistics that you must have done in your class 10 or 12. आप इस curve को, इस probability distribution curve को, you divide it into 3 parts. And when you divide it into 3 parts, we use a concept called Z table. Z table says that if the value of Z is equals to 1.65, if the value of Z, which is called the confidence interval, if the value of Z, which is the confidence interval, is equals to 1.65, that means you are able to cover 95% area of this curve. And if the value of Z is equals to 2.33, then you will cover 99% area of this curve. You're getting my point? So what they've done, they say that this can be divided into, this curve can be divided into 3 parts. Up to 1.65, 95% of the area is covered. Up to 2.33 level, 99% of the area is covered. Now we want to be 95% sure. So the value of Z should be equals to 1.65. Right? So here, and how do we find out Z? Z is equals to x minus x bar divided by standard deviation. X minus x bar divided by standard deviation. Here we have got the x bar because we have been told that the average stock level is 350. Right? You know that the average stock level is 350 and you know that the standard deviation is 10. What you have to find out is this x. That at 100, that at 95% confidence level, where can this value of x go? Right? Where can this value of x go? That's what we want to understand. Are you able to follow what I'm trying to say? कुछ समझ में आ रहा है? Yes, a little bit. Okay. I'll do this again. See, because it should not be little bit. This is because this is the concept which I'm going to use it again also. मैं ये कह रही हूँ कि ये जो कर्व है, ये बेल शेप्ड कर्व है. इस बेल शेप्ड कर्व को हमने 3 पार्ट्स में डिवाइड कर दिया. ठीक है? और एक स्टैंडर्ड बिठा दिया कि अगर हम इसका 1.65 आउट ऑफ 3, अगर हम 1.65 एरिया कवर कर लेते हैं तो 95% एरिया कवर हो जाता है. अगर हम दैट वी विल कम टू इट, राइट? सो हम इसका जो है 95% एरिया कवर कर लेंगे. अगर हम 95% एरिया कवर कर लेंगे तो ये लेवल कहाँ पर आ जाएगा? दिस इज व्हाट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. सपोजिंग ये यहाँ पर आ रहा है तो ये 350 से ज्यादा होगा, राइट? ये यहाँ पर बता रहे हैं. ओके, यहाँ पर अगर हम आ रहे हैं तो ये 350 से ज्यादा होगा. So we want to know that how much, what should be the value of this x. Okay, this is what you want to know. So in order to find out this, what we say, x minus x bar should be equal to 1.65. x minus x bar divided by standard deviation, because इसके अंदर हर point का एक standard deviation है. So x minus x bar divided by standard deviation should be equal to 1.65. Okay. So what should be equal to x? X should be equal to 16.5 units. No. X should be equal to कितना होगा? x minus x bar should be equal to 16.5. हाँ, x minus x bar would be equal to 16.5. ठीक है, क्योंकि हमने क्या करना है, स्टैंडर्ड डेविएशन हमें दिया गया था 10 यूनिट्स. सो 10 मल्टीप्लाइड बाय z इज इक्वल्स टू 1.65. सो 1.65 इज इक्वल्स टू, क्या कर रही हूँ मैं, it is the standard deviation value is equals to 10, right? So 10 multiplied by 1.65 is equals to 16.5. और आपका सेफ्टी स्टॉक क्या है? X is your average demand. So safety stock is X minus X bar. Yeah. So आपका सेफ्टी स्टॉक हो गया here 350 is your average demand. ये तो आपका एवरेज डिमांड है. अब इसके ऊपर कितना रखना है? अगर x की वैल्यू 360 आती है या 300 एंड यहां पर आ रही है 66.5, right? It is coming as 366.5. So what is my safety stock? It is x minus x bar. So 366.5 minus 350 is my safety stock. Am I clear to everybody? Because I am not getting response from everybody. I am just getting response from 1 or 2 students. Great. Chaliye. So the reorder point has to be elevated by 16. Ma'am, sorry, but didn't understand how. इसको solve किया है सिर्फ. देखो, अगर मैं इसको solve करके x की value निकालती हूँ, so in that situation, x minus x bar is equal to 16.5. So x minus 350 is equal to 16.5. X is equals to 16.5 plus 350. So that makes it 366.5. Okay? समझ में आ गया? Sure? Should I solve it again? चलिए. तो इस सिचुएशन में what we have done is we have increased the reorder point by this safety stock of 16.5 units. Why? Because we want to be 95% sure that we are not going to be in a situation of stock out. Okay? So in general the deviation would be 10 units, but in extreme situations it can even go to 16.5 units or maybe 20 units. So we have covered ourselves to the extent of 95% confidence level that we are not going to be in a situation of a stock out. Right? So that's how we calculate the safety stock. One last question on inventory management. It is not always necessary that inventory is held for smooth manufacturing and sales operations. True or false? It is not always necessary that inventory is held for smooth manufacturing and sales operations. True or false? True. Okay. But then why will you keep inventory if you do not want to keep it for smooth manufacturing and sales operations? To compensate raw material rate variation, discount benefit. Very good, very well said. So sometimes for quantity discount we order more than we need. Definitely, yes, definitely. Very well said. So now we move to the next topic, which is apart from smooth inflation control. Yes, of course, the prices may increase in future, and that is why you are ordering for more at the present time. You might also be ordering more because you are expecting that there would be a situation of shortage of the product in times to come. There are certain items which are available in particular seasons, and therefore you want to stock them in those seasons so that you do not end up in a situation of stock out when the stock is not available. So there can be various other commercial considerations while doing the inventory management, right? Yes, of course. So with this, now I'm moving to the examiner's most favorite area, these last attempts, that is debtors management. In every examination, we've seen that they're asking questions of between the range of 6 to 10 marks from debtors management. So, and if this question comes, I think, let's try it, Nikhila. And if the question comes in the examination, I think I was about to finish this sentence. I think it should not be a very difficult question to solve. Now you have to think like a businessman, and you have to think like a very calculative businessman, so that you understand this concept. See, the thing is that this should be very clearly understandable, that if the debtors do not pay us the money, then our funds are blocked, right? Because we have given them goods, at least to the extent of cost of production. At least to the extent of cost of production, our money has been blocked in debtors, even if we do not look at the profits, right? Is this point getting clear? So our money is blocked in the debtors, and the later they give us the payment, more is the cost that is involved. So in debtors, but at the same time, this should also be clear that many a times, in order to increase our sales, we have to provide additional credit benefits to our debtors, isn't it? Because if we come up with some kinds of schemes where we say that, okay, we would be giving you a longer period for payment of money, you may be able to increase your sales. But at the same time, we have to do the cost benefit analysis to see whether the increase in debtors is giving you is giving you a higher cost, or the increase in sales is giving you a higher benefit. So that is a comparison that we are required to make. Further, because in this particular concept, there can be various kinds of questions which can be asked, because one way of managing debtors is that you give them, one is that, as I've already discussed with you, that increase the credit period and increase the sales and compare between the cost and benefit. Another way of looking at debtors can be that you give debtors certain schemes, so that you give them some additional discount so that they give you the money faster. You're getting my point? So you can tell the debtors that if you are going to pay us in 10 days, we'll give you an additional cash discount of 2%. Okay, so then we will have to evaluate that whether the discount will be more costly, or the money which is blocked in the debtors, right? No, this is something which is not possible, Ganesh. We cannot charge our debtors for delay, because in commercial transactions, generally this does not work. When you go to a shop and you take some goods on credit, and if the shopkeeper starts charging you for delay, then you would not go again to that particular shopkeeper. So basically, in commercial world, in business, you cannot charge from your debtors any amount of interest, though you can give them various schemes to make payment to you earlier. But what you can do is another way, because you need your money. At times, it becomes very difficult for a businessman to block money in debtors, practically speaking. So in that situation, there are various alternatives. You can go to the bank and you can request the bank to give you credit against the debtors, right? So in that situation, you will have to calculate that what is the cost that the bank is charging, what is the interest that bank is charging from you, right? So and does it suit your requirements, or does it, yeah? So what is the interest cost, and whether the increase in sales is able to give you that kind of a profit to compensate with that interest cost. Second situation is that there are various factoring companies which are available. They also charge a commission, and they also charge you some upfront fees, but they also provide you payment against your debtors. So in this particular concept, there are various alternatives which are available, and evaluating those alternatives would become easier if you know this business better, right? So is the situation getting clear to you? You have to think like a businessman, as I said, and as a businessman, it is your it is your it completely depends upon the kind of business that you are in. That will determine the level of debtors and the kind of kind of schemes that will prevail, and accordingly you would be keeping your profit margins as well. So can I go to the practical aspects of it? Okay. So, okay, one more theory is that further, in order to manage or in order to monitor your required level of receivables, what you can do is you can look at one of the basic ratios, which is average collection period, which you've done in your accountancy and your financial management, in your cost and management accounting also, where you calculated the average collection period by dividing the average debtors by the total credit sales and multiplying it with the number of days in an year to find out what is your average collection period. Now, why we do it? Because we generally say that we've got a credit policy of 30 days. But once you calculate your average collection period, you finally tend to know that whether you've been actually able to collect the debtors, collect the money from debtors in 30 days or not. आप पॉलिसी बना रहे हैं 30 डेज की और कलेक्शन हो रहा है 40 डेज में और 45 डेज में, दैट मीन्स ईदर देयर इज अ फ्लॉ विद द पॉलिसी और देयर इज अ फ्लॉ विद कलेक्शन. So this helps you to monitor the collection from debtors. Second is you can look at the aging schedule of debtors, because many a times what happens there are some debtors जिनसे की पेमेंट बहुत दिनों तक ब्लॉक्ड रहती है. Like, you have a credit period of 30 days. Most of the debtors pay you in 30 days. But there are some debtors who pay you after 40 days or 45 days. So you have to decide, you have to classify the debtors on the aging schedule, because by just getting one number of debtors, you do not know how old these debtors are. And in order to manage the debtors, it is very, very important to look at the aging schedule of the debtors, because the older the debtors are, the more difficult it is to collect the payment from them. Isn't it? So you have to classify the debtors on the basis of the outstanding period from which the amount is uncollected. Okay? And the third can be the collection experience metrics, where you can where you can have sales on the horizontal axis and you can have the debtors on the vertical axis, and you can allocate that. Okay, for January sales we still have these many debtors, for February sales we've got these many debtors, for March sales we've got these many debtors, and that ways you're able to monitor your debtors and your collection policies, etc. So starting with the practical aspects with a very simple question, and on similar lines, on the question on the basis of this particular question only, in the last examination, that is June 16 examination, you had a question of 10 marks in the examination. So that question which was there in the last examination is your homework question. This question I'm solving for you. ठीक है जी? So last examination, question number 5B or 6B it is. That is what is your homework question. Now let me first discuss this question with you. A company practically उगाई के लिए कौन सा मेथड बेटर है? उगराई की बात हो रही है या उगाई की बात हो रही है? कलेक्शन के लिए कौन सा मेथड बेटर है? यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट दैट. कलेक्शन के लिए देखिए, कोई ऐसा देयर आर वेरियस वेज. वन कैन बी टू यू गिव देम अ कैश डिस्काउंट, दैट इज easiest. But every business will have a different requirement, right? You offer them a discount and collect, like these companies do, these Vodafone and all these things. अगर किसी का बिल पेंडिंग होता है बहुत दिनों तक, so they say कि okay, we'll settle at this particular amount many a times. So you give them a discount and you collect the money. So that is considered to be the most easiest of all methods, but इसमें आपको loss होता है. The second way would be that you can keep on sending them notices or reminders, and then you can send them a legal notice, go in the legal system. Many a times once you send the legal notice, the debtor starts making you the payment, right? So these are various methods in which you can collect from the debtors. In general, the best is that you should do good business and you should choose your customers. Anybody who is not capable of paying or has got a bad habit of repayment, try not to do business with them, or to try to do business with them on cash basis. Now coming to a gross system now. I'm not going individual debtor wise. Here we have got the total debtors and we're trying to look at how and which particular policy should be adopted by the company. A company whose current sales are 15 lakhs per annum, an average collection period of 30 days, wants to pursue a more liberal policy, liberal credit policy to improve the sales. The following data is available. Supposing if they increase the collection period from 30 days to 45 days, so there would be an increase in collection period of 15 days. In that situation, they are contemplating that they would be able to increase the sales by 60,000 rupees. So from 15 lakhs, the sale will become 15 lakh 60,000. In second policy, they will increase the credit period from 30 days to 60 days. In the third policy, they will increase it to 45, from 30 days to 75 days, and then so on and so forth. And they are contemplating that by increasing the collection period, they would be able to increase the sales. But in general, practically speaking, if you increase the credit period to these higher number of days, it will lead to more increase in bad debts, right? But in this particular question, we are assuming that the bad debt losses are nil, right? But in the June 16 examination question, they've given you bad debts also along with this kind of a data. So now the selling price per unit here is rupees 5, average cost per unit is rupees 4, and variable cost per unit is 2.75. So variable cost per unit is 2.75. You can find out the differential between average cost and variable cost to find out the fixed cost. ठीक है जी, कर सकते हैं ना? So 1.25 would be your fixed cost per unit, but this will remain fixed. Whatever remain, what this is at 15 lakh units. Okay, for 15 lakh 60,000 units also the fixed cost is going to remain the same. The required rate of return on additional investment is 20%. That means that if your money will get blocked in debtors, your cost of funds is 20%. Assuming 360 days in a year and nil bad debts losses, which of the above policies would you recommend and why? Question समझ में आ गया? Can you please click a picture of this question so that we can move to the solution? चलिए, यू आर फास्टर ना, लेकिन मुझे भी तो पिक्चर क्लिक करनी होती है, तो मेरे को थोड़ा सा टाइम लग जाता है. हाँ जी. So now we have the credit period. At present it is 30 days, but we are saying that in policy A it would be 45 days, policy B 60, then 75, 90 and 120. At present the number of units are 3 lakhs, but as we increase the credit period, we have been told that the sales in number of units will increase from 3 lakhs to 3 lakhs 12,000, 318, 330, etc. And the sales would be, at present it is 15 lakh rupees, because the price is 5 rupees per unit. So we were able to calculate 3 lakhs. ये हमने 3 lakhs कैसे निकाला? क्योंकि हमें 15 lakh की current sales दी गई थी, selling price was 5, right? So here we are able to find out. Okay, now here the number of units नहीं है, ये sales भी आपको in rupees दी गई हैं. 60,000, 90,000 is the rupees. ठीक है जी? So आपकी नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स हम क्यों निकाल रहे हैं? क्योंकि हमें वेरिएबल कॉस्ट निकालनी है. यू वुड आस्क मी कि जब मैम आपको सेल्स की वैल्यू दी गई थी, तो फिर और आप तो देन व्हाई आर यू कैलकुलेटिंग द नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स? आई एम कैलकुलेटिंग नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स बिकॉज वेरिएबल कॉस्ट विल डिपेंड अपॉन द नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स. ठीक है? इज दिस पॉइंट गेटिंग क्लियर? तो आपने नंबर ऑफ यूनिट्स निकाल ली हर सिचुएशन में, because the selling price is going to remain the constant. So if you have got the sales and you've got the selling price per unit, you can find out the number of units in each of the situation. Now we have been given that the variable cost per unit would be 2.75 rupees per unit. ठीक है? तो नंबर ऑफ यूनिट से आपने वेरिएबल कॉस्ट को मल्टीप्लाई कर देना है टू फाइंड आउट द वेरिएबल कॉस्ट इन ईच ऑफ द सिचुएशंस. यू कैन डू दैट. ठीक है. Now, the fixed cost you have calculated at 1.25 per unit. You have calculated 1.25 per unit in the present policy. ठीक है. So 3 lakhs multiplied by 1.25 was 3,75,000. Was 3,75,000. Whether the number of units increased from 3 lakhs to 3,40,000, fixed cost is going to remain the same. ये बात ठीक है? Clear हो गई सबको? Is it clear? So once I've got the variable cost and once I've got the fixed cost, I can find out the total cost. हमने total cost निकाल ली. Now we can find out profit. In the first situation, sales में से total cost minus किया, so I got a profit of rupees 3 lakhs. Second situation में भी minus किया, third situation में भी minus किया, fourth situation में भी minus किया. ये 3 lakhs का profits कमाने के लिए कितना पैसा ब्लॉक किया? That is my question. That is my question. जब आपकी सेल्स 15 लाख रुपीस की थी, आपका क्रेडिट पीरियड 30 डेज का था, तो आपका कितना पैसा ब्लॉक्ड रहता था? आपका कितना पैसा ब्लॉक रहता था? हाँ जी, 12 लाख रुपए ब्लॉक रहते थे. ऑन सेल्स बेसिस अगर आप डेटर्स देखते हैं, ऑन सेल्स बेसिस अगर आप डेटर्स देखते हैं, so 15 lakhs divided by 12 is equals to 12,50,000, right? Is equals to, 1,25,000. Perfect. 1,25,000. लेकिन हमें तो ये देखना है कि हमारा कितना पैसा ब्लॉक्ड है. I just have to see how much money is blocked, how much of my investment is blocked. So I am not looking at the selling price. I am looking at the cost. Right? So on cost basis, if my money is blocked for 30 days, in that situation, what is my amount that is blocked is rupees 1 lakh. Is the difference getting clear to you? On selling price basis, the amount which is blocked is 1,25,000 rupees per month. But on cost basis, the amount that is blocked is rupees 1 lakh. Because 25,000 is my profit. So my money which is blocked, on which I am paying cost, is rupees 1 lakh. Is it clear to everybody? Okay. So on this 1 lakh rupees, I have been given that my cost of funds is 20%. It's not clear. Nikhila, is it clear? Not getting. See, just try to understand here. Sorry, what I'm saying here is that हमने ये कहा कि 1 साल में आप 15 लाख रुपए का सामान बेचते हो. ठीक है? और उसकी कॉस्ट इज 12 लाख रुपीस. ये बात समझ में आ गई? 3 लाख रुपए का आप 1 साल में प्रॉफिट कमाते हो. अब अगर आपका डेटर आपको पैसा 1 महीने के बाद देता है, तो हर महीने आपका कितना पैसा ब्लॉक्ड है? हर महीने के डेटर्स कितने होंगे? 15 लाख डिवाइडेड बाय 12 इज इक्वल्स टू 1,25,000. ठीक है? लेकिन इसके अंदर आपकी कॉस्ट कितनी है? इसमें आपकी कॉस्ट है 1 लाख रुपए और आपका प्रॉफिट है 25,000 रुपीज. यस और नो? क्योंकि 12 लाख रुपए की साल की कॉस्ट है, तो 1 लाख रुपए की महीने की कॉस्ट हो गई. ठीक है? और 25,000 रुपीज आपका प्रॉफिट है जो कि ब्लॉक्ड है. अगर मुझे ये देखना है कि मेरा कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड्स कितना लग रहा है, तो मुझे अपनी कॉस्ट पर देखना है. अब मैं प्रॉफिट पर तो मैं किसी को कॉस्ट दे ही नहीं रही ना. राइट. सो ऑन कॉस्ट माई कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड्स इज 20,000 रुपीज. per annum, because the cost of funds is given to you on a per annum basis. This is 20% per annum. ठीक है, तो आपका हर समय पर 1 लाख रुपया ब्लॉक्ड है और साल भर का इंटरेस्ट लग गया. अब ये क्वेश्चन बहुत बार दिमाग में आता है कि महीने का अगर मेरा 1 लाख रुपया ब्लॉक्ड है तो मैंने 20,000 कैसे काउंट कर लिया, राइट? वाई इज इट नॉट ऑन 12 लाख रुपीज, वाई इज इट ऑन 1 लाख रुपीज? हु वुड आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन टू मी? Why am I not calculating the cost of investment on 12 lakhs? Why am I calculating it on 1 lakh? Yes, because every month I'm getting realization. एक महीने का पैसा अगले महीने आ जाता है, जनवरी का पैसा फरवरी में आ जाता है, फरवरी का पैसा मार्च में आ जाता है. So at a particular point of time only 1 lakh is outstanding, right? So every time during the year 1 lakh is outstanding, so my cost is also calculated on 1 lakh, right? So that is why it is 20,000 rupees. Now what is my net profit? My net profit is 3 lakhs minus 20,000 is equals to 2,80,000. Is it fine? So similarly I can calculate in all the situations. 3,27,000 minus 3825. Now इस situation में एक बार फिर से study कर लेते हैं. Now what I'm saying is that your total cost in this situation is 12,33,000 and your sales are 15,60,000. So your profit is 3,27,000. But average debtors on cost is to be calculated on 1233. So 1233 divided by 12 gives you 1,54,125. Multiply it with 20%. This gives you 30,825. 30,825 को माइनस करना है किसमें से? 327 में से. तो आपका प्रॉफिट हो जाता है 2,96,000. So by increasing the credit period, you have been able to increase your profit, right? By increasing the credit period, you have been able to increase your profit, and you can see that the profit is increasing up to policy D. उसके बाद प्रॉफिट कम होने लग जाता है. So what we should say? We should say that we should increase the credit policy up to, we should increase the credit period up to the next 90 days, because up to that point the profit is increasing and thereafter the profit is decreasing. Is it getting clear? Even if it is not getting clear, अगर थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ में आ रहा है, we can do lot of questions. We can do lot of questions to understand it in a better manner. One more. Now, Seven Wings Limited has been engaged in manufacturing of garments. It has current sales of rupees 30 lakhs per annum. The cost of sales is 75% of sales. 30 lakhs में से 75% is the cost, and bad debts are 1% of sales. Cost of sales के ऊपर होते हैं bad debts. Okay, so cost of sales are 1% of sales. Cost of sales comprises 80% variable cost and 20% fixed cost, while the company's required rate of return is 12%. Okay, company's required rate of return is 12%. The company currently allows customer 30 days credit, but the company is now considering increasing the credit period to 60 days credit in order to attract more customers. It has been estimated that this change in policy will increase the sales by 15%. So आपकी sales जो अभी 30 लाख रुपए थी वो 15% से बढ़ जाएंगी. So 15% मतलब 34,50,000 हो जाएंगी. While bad debts will also increase from 1% to 4%. So ये cost बढ़ जाएगी. It is expected that the policy change will not result in any increase in fixed costs, creditors and stock level, but definitely the variable cost will increase. Should Seven Wings Limited introduce the proposed policy? Question समझ में आ रहा है? On similar lines of the previous question, but थोड़ा और इसके अंदर material add हो गया है. ठीक है ना? So, any doubts on the question? If not, please click the picture of the question. Done? So, अब इसमें करना क्या है आपको? You have to do as per the previous question only, but यहाँ पर आपको variable cost और fixed cost percentage में दी गई है. So variable cost is comprised in the cost of sales, and cost of sales is 75% of the sales. So that means variable cost is 80% of 75%. Is the mathematics getting clear to you? Is rupees 18 lakhs. Okay. So it's 60%. We can understand it like this. It is 60%. And fixed cost can also be calculated accordingly. So, okay, इस question में गलती है. ये जो है आपकी जो फिक्स कॉस्ट है ये हमने सेल्स पर ले रखी है. इट कैन बी टेकन ऑन कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्स, बट इससे आपके रिजल्ट में कोई फर्क नहीं आएगा क्योंकि फिक्स कॉस्ट डज नॉट चेंज, बिकॉज फिक्स कॉस्ट डज नॉट चेंज इन द टू ऑल्टरनेटिव्स. सो वेदर यू टेक इट एज कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल्स और एट सेल्स, इट वुड नॉट मेक एनी डिफरेंस. चलिए, so now what we are saying is that my sales amount is 30 lakhs. And in the proposed policy, it will increase by 15%, so it will become 34,50,000. I will have an increase in revenue of 4,50,000 rupees. Fine. I will have an increase in revenue of 4,50,000 rupees. Here, my variable cost is 80% of cost of sales, that is 60% of sales, and as Nikhila has rightly calculated, it would be 18 lakh rupees in the present policy and 20,70,000 rupees in the new policy. So my contribution margin would be 12 lakhs in the first case and 13,80,000 in the second case. I have been given that 20% of the cost of sales is my fixed cost. So I can calculate it as at cost of sales also. So my fixed cost at present, we are taking it as 6 lakh rupees. But as I said, this does not make any difference because the fixed cost remains constant. I have also been told that if I introduce the new policy, my bad debts will increase from 1% to 4%. Bad debts are always calculated on sales, right? So at present, it is 1% of 30 lakhs. It will become 4% of 34,50,000. Okay? So from 1% it will become 4%. So after that, let me find out what is right now my investment in debtors. At present, I've got a credit policy of how many days? 30 days. अभी आपकी सेल्स है 30 लाख रुपीस और 30 डेज की क्रेडिट पॉलिसी है. So that means 30 lakhs divided by 12. 30 lakhs divided by 12 will give you the investment in debtors. This we are doing it at sales value. We can also do it at cost value, which I will be doing in the next alternative. Okay? This is alternative 1, which I am doing it at the sales value. But in the alternative 2, we will be doing it at the cost. Okay? अगर हम sales value पे debtors लेके चलते हैं, so in that situation, your investment per month in debtors is rupees 2,50,000. And in this particular case, because your credit period is increasing to 60 days, 60 था ना? Your credit period is increasing to 60 days. In that situation, अब आप 34,50,000 को किससे डिवाइड करोगे? 34,50,000 को किससे डिवाइड करोगे? किससे डिवाइड करोगे? What will be the divisor? Come on, I'm waiting. How much is your investment in debtors in the proposed policy? Yes, can I hear from you? Dipali, Abhishek, Sneha, Ganesh, Nikhila. By 6, very good. Why 6? Because the period has increased from 30 days to 60 days. Isn't it? Yes. So therefore, now your investment in debtors has increased from 2,50,000 to 5,75,000. कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड्स हैज टू बी कैलकुलेटेड एट द रेट ऑफ 12%. तो आपने इसको 250 को मल्टीप्लाई कर देना है 12% से और 575 को भी मल्टीप्लाई कर देना है 12% से. So after reducing the cost of funds from your from 12, like I will have to reduce from 12 lakhs, 6 lakhs and 30,000 and 30,000, right? 12 lakhs में से 6 lakhs minus करेंगे, 30,000 minus करेंगे और ये वाले 30,000 minus करेंगे. So then you will get 5,40,000 in the first case, and in this case you are getting 6 lakhs minus 1,38,000. Sorry, 13,80,000 minus 6 lakhs minus 1,38,000 minus 69,000. It gives you 5,73,000. So you can say that because of the change in policy, I have been able to increase my income by 33,000 rupees. So I should change the policy. ठीक है जी? Similarly, you can do the calculation of debtors at the cost price also. यहाँ पर क्या होगा? Investment in debtors will be on cost. And what is your cost here? It is 18 lakh plus 6 lakhs is equal to 24 lakhs. Right? Is equal to, यहाँ पर गलती से लिखा नहीं है, this will be 1 lakh here. एक मिनट. Sorry, 2 lakhs होना चाहिए कॉस्ट ऑफ फंड्स के बेसिस पर. 18 और 2, 18 और 6 24, 2 लाख होगा. Okay, it has moved actually. Sorry, this should come here. So this is 2 lakh rupees. Investment in debtors is 2 lakh rupees in this first situation, and in second situation it is 4,45,000. Okay? समझ में आया? Is it clear? Great. Anybody else? Any questions? So we move to the next question. If there are no doubts, then we move to the next question. Can I take one more? और इससे ज़्यादा अच्छा question लेना चाहूँ. Which option should we choose? Whichever option for the purpose of solving question you are saying? If you're asking from the purpose of solving question whether you should solve it on sales or on cost of sales, it is easier to solve it on sales. उसमें गलती होने के chances कम है. So choose the sales method, but the ideal method is cost of sales. So अगर आपका perfection आ जाता है, you go by cost of sales method. But अगर आपका perfection नहीं आता है, कहीं कोई confusion आ रहा है, तो sales पर चले जाइए. ठीक है? So perfect is sales, but perfect is cost of sales, but sales is also not wrong. ठीक है? So now we go to one more question, because I skipped the earlier question because this one I find it to be more relevant. The turnover of Zenith Limited is rupees 100 lakhs, of which 72% is on credit. So 72 lakhs is on credit. Debtors are allowed 1 month to clear off the dues. A factoring company is willing to advance 80% of the bills raised on credit for a fee of 1% a month plus a commission of 5% on total amount of debts. So commission will be charged on total amount of debts, and 1% fee will be charged on the 80% amount that they are willing to advance. ठीक है? Zenith Limited, as a result of this arrangement, by going for factoring, it is likely to save rupees 48,000 annually in management costs, because now nobody has to call the debtors, now nobody has to follow up with them, so you do not need people for that, and it will also be able to avoid bad debts at the rate of 1% on the credit sales. So एक तो उनके bad debts बच जाएंगे और दूसरा they will be able to save on the management fees. Now another option is there with us. A bank has come forward to make an advance equal to 80% of the debts at an annual interest of 15%. However, its processing fees will be 1% on the debts, would you accept the factoring or the offer from the bank? पहली बात यह है कि चाहे आप बैंक के पास जाएं या फैक्टरिंग कंपनी के पास जाएं, in both the situations you're getting 80% of the amount of debtors. So that should be very clear कि in both the situations पैसा आपको same ही मिल रहा है, right? So now we can evaluate the options because they are comparable. Because they are comparable, both of them are giving you the same amount of money. ठीक है? But one is charging you 1% fee for a month and on 80% and plus 5% on the total amount of debtors, but at the same time you are saving 48,000 and 1% on credit sales, but the bank is charging you 15% on the total amount of debtors per month, and it is also charging you processing fees, and you would not be able to save that management costs and bad debts also when you take a loan from bank, because factoring company तो आपको collection services भी दे रही है, लेकिन bank will not give you the collection services, right? So is the question clear to you? Factoring क्या होता है? I hope you're clear. You know what is factoring? Okay. So we move to the solution. We have been told that there are annual credit sales of 72% of 100 lakhs. So that means 72 lakh rupees are the annual credit sales. Because, you know, most of the amounts can be converted into months here because the factoring company is charging you 1% per month or something like that. So we've done the complete calculation on monthly basis. You can do it on a per annum basis as well. That's not a problem. So monthly credit sales are going to be 6 lakhs. You have been told that the factoring company will advance you 80% of your credit sales, and the bank will also advance you 80% of your credit sales. है ना? So in that situation, 80% of credit sales is 80% of 6 lakhs is equals to 4,80,000. ठीक है? Now the factoring company is going to charge you 1% per month for the amount of for the amount provided. So they will provide you 4,80,000 per month. So for that you have to pay 1% to them, which is equals to 4,800 rupees per month, and they're going to charge you 5% commission on the total debts. So 5% of total is 6 lakhs. So 6 lakhs multiplied by 5% is equals to 30,000. So total charge that they're going to take is 34,800, but at the same time you would be able to save rupees 48,000 per annum on management cost, which converted into month is 4,000 rupees, and you would be able to save 1% of your bad debts, right? You would be able to reduce your bad debts by 1%. So 6 lakhs ka 1% is equals to 6,000. So 10,000 rupees you would be able to save. So the net cost of factoring per month is coming as 24,800 rupees. Any questions, anybody? On the concept, on the calculation, any doubts? No. So now we have to compare it with the bank loan. बैंक आपको कह रहा है कि it will also be providing you with 80% of the total credit sales, but for that it will charge you 15% interest. Because we're doing calculations on a monthly basis, so I divided by 12. So interest will come as rupees 6,000. Bank will also charge you a processing fees of 1%. So 6 lakhs ka 1% is equals to 6,000 rupees. In the banking offer, there would be bad debts also of 1%. So 6 lakhs ka 1% again is equals to 6,000 rupees. And you will also be required to pay management cost of rupees 4,000. So net cost, if you take the money from bank, is 22,000 rupees. Now whichever option is cheaper, we will be accepting that. So since the cost of bank finance is cheaper, we can accept that. Right? So questions को बहुत carefully पढ़ना है, और you have to think 5 times before you write anything. See, what we are doing is that अगर आप बैंक से लोन लेते हो तो ये कॉस्ट तो देनी पड़ेगी ना. That's what I'm trying to say कि क्वेश्चन को बहुत ध्यान से पढ़ना है और समझना है. It's not given to you in the question. But we are saying that अगर if you are going for factoring, this cost will be saved. But अगर factoring नहीं होगा तो ये cost तो होगी ना, right? अगर factoring नहीं होगा तो ये cost तो है ही ना. Is it getting clear, Ganesh? So therefore this has been added here. कि वहां पर ये कॉस्ट नहीं रहेगी. हम कोई इंक्रीमेंटल एनालिसिस नहीं कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर कि इसमें ये कॉस्ट, वी आर सेइंग कि इसमें ये कॉस्ट नहीं रहेगी. व्हाट वी कुड हैव डन इज कि हम यहाँ पर ले लेते हो, यहाँ पे 0 ले लेते. दैट वी कुड हैव डन. तब हम कॉस्ट लेते 34,800 और यहाँ पर हम कह देते कि भाई इंक्रीमेंटल एनालिसिस जब हम कर रहे होते. बट अभी हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम दोनों को अलग अलग उनकी कॉस्ट निकाल रहे हैं. तो इन दिस सिचुएशन जब आप बैंक से लोन ले रहे हो तो तब आपको बैड डेट्स तो होंगे ही, मैनेजमेंट कॉस्ट भी होगी ही, तो वो आपको इंक्लूड करनी पड़ेगी इन योर कैलकुलेशन. दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड कि इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस को बहुत केयरफुली पढ़ना है, क्वेश्चन को ठीक से समझना है, एज इन अ प्रैक्टिकल सिचुएशन प्लेस करना है, एंड देन ओनली यू वुड बी गेटिंग द राइट आंसर. राइट? आई थिंक एक और क्लास करते हैं ऑन सम मोर प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट्स ऑफ डेटर्स मैनेजमेंट, 1 or 2 more questions. And in that class I would also be discussing with you about the Tandon committee and the cash management and etc. It might be for half of the class I would be continuing with working capital management, and then I move to the next topic, which is security analysis. ठीक है जी? So I think we'll close it for today. Various kinds of questions I've discussed, so you need to take some time to grasp all the concepts, practice it. In the exam preparatory, I'll be asking you debtors management, inventory management, both the concepts, so you have some time to practice. That means you've got full Friday and full Saturday. So अच्छे से you have to do a lot of practical questions. Yeah, working capital is something that we're going to ask in this exam preparatory. Or in case Abhishek and Ganesh, because both of you are here, I would just like to understand, in case you think that we need to give a break of a week in this exam preparatory, we can do that, because abhi concepts हमने किए हैं, and these are practical concepts which require some practice. So if you want that we should skip Saturday's exam preparatory and we